My history with the Silver Surfer animated series is actually kind of a fun one, as I remember having vague memories of the first episode where Galactus comes to Nornrad, the actual name of the Silver Surfer's home of Zenla, and rips him away from his love, Shalabal. And I remember all of this mostly because they kept saying everyone's name so often. It was insanity. And it was just because the Silver Surfer would always wax poetically about, his home and how he was taken away from it and how he cursed Galactus and blah blah blah. And oh man, it was really wild, that first episode. I also always remember, I think, what was the third episode that introduced Thanos. Because this series was my first introduction to Thanos. And it's hilarious now because Thanos is so much more widely known, but during the time of this series back in the late 90s, Thanos was just such a wild concept to the average person. And it didn't help that in this series he was a servant of Lady Chaos instead of Mistress Death, because you couldn't call her Mistress Death. It's simply not done. And the funny thing about that episode was that when I got my very first laptop back in, I want to say 2002, 2003, an older guy who had set it up for me had actually put what was the it's weird how they number this series, but I think it was either the second or third episode, the one that introduced Thanos, on my computer. It was like a rip copy of it or whatever, but that was my very first, I probably shouldn't say this, but my very first pirated episode of anything that I ever viewed. And I watched that episode so many times because it was so weird and fascinating. You had CGI, Galactus, and Thanos just speaking these soliloquies and monologuing about his love of chaos and entropy and all this stuff. It was wacky, but it really was a good introduction to the form of comic book writing and the Marvel cosmic landscape as a whole. Nowadays it's become a little bit more accepted, but back then it was such a weird concept to see characters like Drax the Destroyer in his original incarnation alongside the likes of Pip the Troll and his girlfriend Killy, which was wild. Pip the Troll was such a weird creation. You'd see cosmic entities like Eternity and Infinity and Uatu the Watcher. You had an episode where the Corbinite people were being set upon by Thanos, because that was all the Silver Surfer was doing. He'd go around trying to save people from Thanos or saving them from Galactus and this, that, and the other. And mostly was Thanos. Oddly enough, Thanos just, despite the fact that Galactus was the ensuing catalyst for the life Norrad ended up living, and who had made it so that Norrad had no idea where Zenla was, because he had sent it away for some reason. I think because at some point the Surfer had denied Galactus a meal, so in order to punish him, he sent Zenla far away, friggin' chucked the planet to parts unknown. And so the Silver Surfer was trying his best to try to get home to Zenla and his love Shalabal, but he was having such a hard time, so he ended up helping people along the way. And one of your first introductions to Beta Ray Bill, but he doesn't have the hammer at this point, because a lot of this stuff is proto situation. Despite the nature of the Silver Surfer, you never really got Earth's heroes in their entirety. You never saw Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, anybody. It was just all the cosmic stuff, which was cool. Don't get me wrong. Ego the Living Planet, and the Surfer had saved Ego, and this Ego tried to repay him by making his surface like Shalabal. So, that was my introduction to Ego with this episode. Like, so much of the cosmic landscape, so much of the stuff that shows up in Guardians of the Galaxy is just packed into this series. And it's so wild that you never see the Silver Surfer in any of the Guardians movies. You also have the likes of the Skrull who were introduced. That was wild, as well as the Kree, and you even get introduced to Adam Warlock, but he's in a completely different guise. He's not this ultimate form. He's more of this super soldier who's trapped in this endless rift of battle or something like that. It was weird. Like, even if you knew the comics, some of the portrayals of these cosmic characters were just so out there. And the series ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, with it seeming like Thanos had ended the Silver Surfer and all that. But, unfortunately the series was canceled because of some kind of dispute that happened between like Marvel Animation or something and like Saban, because they were like the distributor or something like that. So it only got 13 episodes. But it was a funky 13 episodes. I keep hoping that I'll one day see another Silver Surfer animated series, but the Silver Surfer's name doesn't carry as much weight as it did back in the 90s. Like, the Silver Surfer was the shit in the 90s. I remember even before the Silver Surfer series came out, I was kind of a fan of the Silver Surfer. I used to have a Silver Surfer toy that I really did love. It was so weird because it's just like, what is his board? Why does he surf through space? I had so many questions about all that. But it was a fun series. It was a nice series. It's a shame it didn't go further, but honestly, at the same time, I couldn't see it going further than 2 seasons like most of the other Marvel animated series, like the Hulk and Iron Man and stuff like that, because at the time, like, a lot of this stuff just wasn't that popular. During the 90s, it was Spider-Man's time, the X-Men's time, stuff like that. All the rest of this stuff was just kind of like, it's quaint. Not like today, where all of these kind of stuff would be clamored over. People be climbing over their stuff themselves for a Silver Surfer series. Hell, I'd be happy to just have an X-Men series from Marvel at this point. Like, the political landscape of when Marvel joined Disney, just, it's a shit show. But I have this weird special place for the Silver Surfer series in my heart, and that'll never change. But do you actually remember this series? Do you even know this series existed? That there was a Silver Surfer cartoon series all about this chrome naked bastard? Like, tell me your thoughts and memories on this series. If you liked it, if you loved it, if you hated it, just let me know. What did you think about the initial incarnation of Thanos? Ooh, man, I honestly loved Thanos' voice in this series. It was something to behold. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you liked this video, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good YouTube stuff. Or don't. I ain't your daddy, but I still love you like one. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.